Hi, I'm Kristin. Welcome to the Transforming Hearts podcast, brought to you by the Institute for Ministry Formation. We believe that transforming the church starts with transforming hearts. Join us as we explore ministry through the lens of relationship and accompaniment. Together, let's journey towards growth, healing, and transformation. Hello and welcome to the Transforming Hearts podcast. This is Kristin with the Institute for Ministry Formation, and today we have a very special guest on our show. We have Robin Schiefelbein, who is a current student of our spiritual direction program. So many of our podcasts have highlighted students and friends of the IMF who are engaged in more formal accompaniment-based apostolates and ministries. We've had guests on around executive coaching or coaching for clergy. We've talked about cohorts of spiritual directors and CGS catechists. But today, Robin's going to share with us about the impact of the IMF's formation on her daily life. So in her day-to-day interactions with her friends and families, and she'll just share with us how personally the formation has transformed her. So welcome, Robin. It's good to have you on the show.
Hi, Kristin. I'm looking forward to the time with you.
So, Robin, maybe you can just give us a brief introduction to yourself and how you found out about the IMF.
So in a nutshell, I have been married for 35 years, and I have 7 kids spread out over a 20-year span. And for 33 of the 35 years of my marriage, my children have always been home with me. We homeschooled for many, many years. So from the ages of 21 to 54, I've just been in my home with my kids. And a couple of years ago, for the first time, my last 2 children that are at home went to public school. And it's just been clearly a real time of transition. That this is a very new place for me just in my home life. And I'm also at a very new and different place in my spiritual life. And right about the time this transition was happening, you and Father Boniface came out and did a parish mission at a parish near me. And so I was there and I think saw a flyer advertising the art of accompaniment. And that was the first I'd ever heard about it. And truthfully, I don't think I would have taken the class other than it was being offered in Rome. And I remembered seeing the flyer and thinking, oh, well, that would be really cool for somebody to do, like not actually me. But then God really opened the door for that to happen. And after I took that class, part of that class maybe was talking about what is spiritual direction, or who might a spiritual director be, and how do you know that this is maybe a charism? And I didn't have any of those feelings. I didn't feel any calling like, oh, yeah, people aren't coming to me looking for direction or anything. But I just enjoyed the class and the people so much. And so I just kind of kept taking the next class. And here I am finishing up my last 2 classes now.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I was wondering what drew you to the whole program, and it was really Rome was the carrot, but the art of accompaniment was the first course that you had taken with us, and so then just one step after another.
Yeah, and it's a case which I've seen happen with other things too, of Jesus putting something sort of sparkly in front of me, and I go after it thinking, oh, here's a fun thing, without really at the time realizing, oh, you're actually doing something here. So
Yeah, step by step in this new phase, this time of transition for you. So you had mentioned when we were just talking offline a little bit that you are in like the grandma demographic, right? So, I loved how you shared about your family. You have 7 children and now
7
grandchildren.
grandchildren too. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, great. And so was that a hang up for you? Like as you've been going through these courses, have you felt like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. I'm too busy. This is too late in life. Or was that a hang up for you, or what was that like in this demographic, this time of your life?
I think, first of all, I'm taking the classes through the IMF at the audit level. And so I could have had the option to take them for credit. And that did seem overwhelming to me, just the thought of like writing longer papers and doing citations. So I've been really grateful just for the chance to participate at a little bit less academic rigor. Um, and yet I participate fully in everything
Mm-hmm.
other than a few things. So it's just been very, very rich. And I think I was surprised um, at the people that I found as classmates. There are for sure priests and seminarians and religious and consecrated people. There are lots of focus people. There are lots of people that work for their diocese or their parish in a formal way. But there are also people like me whose children are older or gone, and who find themselves kind of in a similar space of, what's the next thing now? And I've made some really beautiful friendships, and just I don't know, I've just so appreciated the level, the depth, I guess, of the different people that I have encountered and journeyed with through the classes.
Yeah, Robin, I have found that too. I was also a student of the program and obviously an employee of our institute, but I've noticed that there is like a growing community that, in addition to like really beautiful transformative content, like the people are are really beautiful in the ways that we've been able to share our hearts, share our experiences. Like God is doing something very powerful in the people, I think, that He has gathered. So, Robin, was there a course, or what part of the spiritual direction program has really captivated your heart or transformed your heart?
Well, I would say, in particular, the Principles of Prayer course with Father Boniface. That was very powerful. He's very gifted in teaching and in that particular area. So, and then praying sacred scripture, I think, has been another one that, yeah, I think I'm still digesting that one. But just really, really being drawn so much more into the fullness of not only of the faith, but even of who I am, who God is, how he speaks in me and to me. It's very much just part of this beautiful thing that God is doing in my own heart. And yeah, so much riches that I have found through these classes. Can't put words to all that.
Sure. Yeah, I can appreciate all of that. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, often I have interviewed people who are involved in more formal postulates and ministries in accompaniment. But again, offline, you and I had talked about how you're transforming hearts through accompanying on your coffee dates, on accompanying children and in your family. And so can you share a little bit about how the dynamics in your relationships have changed because of the formation that you've received with the IMF?
Well, I would be interested, like if you polled different people that have been through the program, like what do you think is like a key word? Is there a key word that sums up whatever you've learned here? And I would think across the board, it might be just one word, and that's vulnerability. And so in my relationships, whether it's with family or with my friends or really even people that I'm just meeting, I think I am just growing and leaning more and more into that space of like, what does that mean to be vulnerable with another? And what's that going to look like in relationship? And truthfully, even what is that going to look like in relationship with Jesus himself? And so, I was actually in adoration this morning and kind of thinking about this, and Jesus is there, but he's very quiet, and he's not solving all my problems in that hour. I don't come away with, now I know exactly what to do about X, Y, and Z. But he's there with me. And so when I think of bringing that to my other relationships, one huge change, I think, in me is maybe just a willingness to really just be with the person that I'm with without trying to fix or solve or give answers, and instead just to receive them. Something that I feel like has been coming up in prayer for me is at the 10th station, Jesus is stripped of his garments. And I heard a priest give a beautiful testimony of coming to the 10th station while he was on a pilgrimage. And there was a little inscription there that said, "Naked, you are enough for me." And that quote has really just resounded in me, that it's like God the Father said that to Jesus. And Jesus says that to me. And it's also like he asked me that same question, like, am I enough for you just here as I am? And again, just the idea of in relationship with the people in my life, like, can I accept them with that kind of openness that, you don't have to do anything for me. I don't need anything from you. I just want to be with you and offer you the gift of my presence.
That's so beautiful, Robin. I actually teared up when you had talked about naked, or when you had mentioned naked, you are enough for me. That's so beautiful, and such a beautiful way to understand vulnerability and love. And I loved how you said, like, if we were to think of like one word that kind of summarizes like what we have learned and received in this program is really vulnerability, which is a being seen. This is who I am as I am. And there's ways we can cover our nakedness through pleasing, performing, perfecting, doing, achieving, just trying to be enough for the other person, trying to be enough for ourselves, trying to be enough for God. But how healing it is when someone like as you are so beautifully doing for those in your life can just be with somebody, and through your presence, through your love, through your connection, can help that other person experience that they are enough as they are. And so how beautiful that it's transforming you at such a deep level, but then how each person in your life can experience that, the love of the Father through that.
Well, and maybe that's another thing. I, of course, would never presume to think that anyone that I'm talking to is, I don't know what they go away with other than we've had some nice conversation, but I think I'm receiving so much, just even in hearing people's stories and receiving some of the just most painful things that people carry in their hearts, and being able to sit with them in those places. And it's very hard to be in those places and not want to solve or fix, or to not have a solution. Sometimes there just aren't solutions on a human level. So it's just, for me, such a privilege to enter into that space. And so many people aren't willing or aren't able to really go there. And so with them, just to try to help open up that space, or in being just who I am, very openly, vulnerably, that maybe they will feel some level of safety to go deeper themselves. And it's always with God as the center, the idea of just journeying together. Can I journey with you and walk beside you toward our end goal, which is God?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful to hold somebody's hand into the places that they're afraid to go. We know in our heads that God's there, God wants, or maybe we don't know that God is there at the deepest place in our heart. We might know that at the head level or not know that at all. But when somebody takes us by the hand, we can experience in an incarnational way that God is with us. We're not alone. And it's really beautiful when you're willing and open to go to those places. And the other thing is the more that we can listen in a vulnerable way without trying to fix the other person or control or make them change, I think the more we can see them as they are. Like, there's this idea that we don't see people as they are, we see them as we are. So this martyrdom of listening, this setting aside like my projection, my desire to control, so that I can really see the other person as they are, not as I am. Yeah. And that's where a more deeper and richer communion can unfold.
Yeah, and maybe even just to extend that, I think another thing that I've become aware of, and this is, again, about my transformation in this process, really part of it for me too is I've been on a search for Jesus, and I have a hard time finding him. And somehow I'm just becoming more and more aware of his desire to reveal himself in the other person. And, if I sit in adoration looking at Jesus in the monstrance, can I come into these times with my friends and just sit with them in the same way that I sit in adoration? just with such reverence for them and for Jesus within them. So that's, so much could be said about all that, and I don't have the words for it, but a real process, if it goes back to Mother Teresa, her 5-finger prayer of whatever you do to them. I don't know if I said that right.
Oh, yeah. I think it was you did it to
Yes,
me,
you did it
right?
to me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And so just that that seeking of Christ in the other, rather than projecting or judging and making assumptions about what I seem to see or understand. I'm trying to just let go of those things and just see him.
Yeah. Beautiful. The way that we love is what really transforms the world. And I love this idea too about how the laity, you and I, all of us, are called to be like Christ's leaven in the world, right? So leaven, yeast, is something that like you can't see, but it causes such a huge transformation, like a transformation from within when yeast is in the dough, right? Like it rises and it transforms, and how we can think about like often I've been working in ministry in a more formal way for over 15 years. And I often think like, gosh, it's going to be this next vision, this next strategic plan, this next new apostolate, this next new ministry, which can all be inspired by the Holy Spirit, right? But without love, it's really nothing. It's nothing. And so in our day-to-day interactions with people, when we enter into the heart, those are the things that people remember. Like they remember how they were loved, and their heart gently will unfold and respond to love, and then be able to love themselves. And so really to integrate this content so that we can love and be transformed is really what transforms the world around us. No matter how hidden it is, it has the greatest impact.
Yeah. Well, even in, my family, in particular with my youngest daughter, the idea of sitting with her, she's a tween, and there's just so much stuff going on in her, and so much desire in her to really be seen and known and loved. And I think the former me couldn't be really present with her, or with my older kids. I could not be present with them in that way of just receiving and letting her be. And instead of, it's very easy as a mom to really actually feel like I have to fix this. It's, this is part of my job to solve her problems and tell her what she needs to do. And instead, really just to sit back and be with her and pray over her and trust.
Yeah, be with her as she is. Yeah, I think that, there's a way that when we hide behind like a people pleasing or a perfecting, right? That maybe your daughter, in trying to win or approve of your love, or get your approval and win your love is what I mean, could try really hard to put on a mask and be different.
Yeah, for sure.
Say the things that you would want her to say, that you would want to hear, but just to be with her as she is.
Yeah, and that's another place that, it's a place that is being healed in myself, and then through that, hopefully healing is coming into my family. But I think Father Boniface really talks a lot about feelings and emotions. And I think I grew up in a family that there were no feelings and emotions. You didn't have them. Or if you did have them, that was probably not a good thing. And so I've then raised my family in that same kind of a mindset, which is, maybe it comes down to just, you be good and we'll all be happy. And, let's just have peace here. That's the goal, is just everybody, whatever it takes, just be quiet and peaceful and don't make a disturbance. And no space for people to say, to think, to feel outside of that little box, because now you've wrecked the peace, and now I'm going to probably be angry. Oh, but I shouldn't be angry. Just so much confusion around emotion. And now trying to bring some healthy truth to those relationships, and healing for all the wounded places that are there.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. And as you heal your heart, like, that healing is just like a font. It's the gift that keeps on giving. But I agree. Often we don't know what to do with emotions, with anything that causes us discomfort or other people discomfort, right, or disturbing the peace. But in that, then we're suppressing real parts of ourselves. And again, we go into hiding. But those parts of us never forget, right? So then it causes such torment. They go into exile and all those things. And so how healing it can be when those parts can be seen and witnessed and loved in ways that maybe they weren't in the past. Right. And how beautiful it can be when we are accompanying others. We can give them the gift that they didn't receive in the past.
Yeah. It's really something quite extraordinary. And I still don't know, even though I'm about to finish the program, I don't know what God is calling me to do. If I will really become a spiritual director, or how this is going to be used in my life. But I'm really looking forward to just the unfolding of it.
Beautiful. One step at a time, an unfolding of grace in your heart. And so we just have a minute or two left. So I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for all that you have shared with us. And just in a real personal level, what God is doing in your heart, and your openness to what He's doing. It's just really, really beautiful. So thank you for that. Is there anything else on your heart that you'd like to share with us before we end our time together?
Maybe what comes to mind is just that if there's someone listening and thinking they're on the fence about this program, I don't know. I really can't say enough about the goodness and the blessing that it's brought into my life in so many ways. And just the growth personally and spiritually. And so it's a good risk.
Beautiful. Well, I will be sure to put the link to our spiritual direction program in the show notes today, so our listeners can have access to that. But Robin, I just really want to thank you for being on the show today. And most especially, I want to thank you for sharing from your heart.
Thank you, Kristin. I appreciate you giving me the chance.